Hey guys, thank you for stopping by for a quick chat. Do much appreciate it. Just need some quick recommendations for something for a Halloween video that I want to shoot. So if you guys can help me out real quick, recommend some series, I'd very much appreciate it. So if let's go down the line, and if you got anything, let me know. Kiki, you first.
I recommend Shuzo Oshimi, and you should try Flowers of Evil.
Okay, I'm not that big of an Oshimi fan, but I'll hold off. We'll see. Prom, you gotta have something.
I really recommend Shuzo Oshimi.
Yeah, of course you. Okay, yeah, I read those. I gave you those. But I don't want to read Oshimi right now. So just something else. Nisha, what about you?
You should check out this one. It's very interesting to say the least.
Another Shuzo Oshimi. Great. Tony.
I think you should read all of them.
Okay, cool. Whatever. I'm gonna just ask somebody else. I'll ask somebody else. Whatever. Hey guys, welcome back to the Halloween video. Yes, this should be dropping on Halloween, hopefully. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about a certain creator, as you can tell by the skit. Thank you so much to the creators that helped me out with this, and Shuzo Oshimi himself. Yeah, it was a great experience to have him, record this little thing for me for the Kodansha House little meetup we had. I asked him, I was like, hey, I do videos. I want to do a video on you. So yeah. And yeah, willingly, he was very, happy to do it. And so that was fun. So thank you to Shuzo Oshimi-san. Thank you to all the creators. Check out them in the link below in the descriptions. Awesome people that I met over the years. But without further ado, yes, the wonderful world of Shuzo Oshimi. This video, I'm going to be talking about every Shuzo Oshimi series that I've read in English that is currently printed here, I believe. I think all of them are printed in English. Here are the 3 series that are currently printed at the time of recording that I have not read. So these won't be talked at all. If you want to recommend me one of those, comment them down below. I'll check them out eventually. So yeah, everything else though that is printed physically in English is on this video. I'm going to be ranking them basically what I think my favorites are, my least favorites. So we'll go from the one I don't like the most and to all the way to my favorites. Shuzo Oshimi, before we start, is an interesting creator for me because at first, as you'll see with like the way this is structured, and I'm gonna be mentioning like when I read these, like what it was, the first one, was it the last one, like all that stuff. You're gonna realize how my feelings towards this creator has like shifted, honestly. So yeah, it's a very rocky road, but honestly, I'm kind of glad that I've read some of these series because I can see the best and the worst that his mind has to offer. You're a sick man, dude. Without further ado, let's check out and talk about these series one by one. And yeah, welcome to the wonderful world of Shuzo Oshimi. Miss Kusakabe was the first Shuzo Oshimi work that I read. That should tell you a lot. Yeah, as I mentioned before in the prom segment, yeah, those 2 one-shots, those were the first ones that I've read from him. And yeah, if you read those, it's not a great first impression. Miss Kusakabe, I think it's his worst work, easily by far. I think most people would say, like, English printing wise, it's easily the worst thing. So yeah, trigger warnings for a bunch of these. It's Shuzo Oshimi, if you know, you know. But yeah, this is about a woman who is in the middle of the street, just sat down, and a guy walks up to her one day, and she wants to R-word him, and she's been R-worded a lot, and she just takes pleasure in it. I will say, if you've seen the whole prom bit, they're like flimsy little comics. They're one-shots. They're very short. I think it's like about 20 pages each of those 2. And yeah, it's not good at all. Very bad. Yeah, it's very detailed and not good. Yeah, I was surprised that it was a 2020 release. So that's great because the other one I believe was a bit younger or a bit older, I think, than Kusakabe. But yeah, not good at all. Very bad, and there's no payoff to it. And yeah, I don't like it. It's not a good read at all. Avoid it if you want to read Shuzo Oshimi. This is the one to just steer clear from because it's not good at all. And yeah, the less said about it, the better. So yeah, it's my worst one. I rated it this on my mouth. I think it's like a 4 or 3. I don't remember. But yeah, I'll show the ratings for what I've rated them here. Also, I've completed these. These are all completed. thankfully all the series I'm talking about are completed. Yeah, this is the worst one by far. It's not even close. Waltz, on the other hand, is bad. Don't get me wrong, it's not a good one shot at all, which is crazy because one shots do appear a lot later. But yeah, it's not good at all. It's about, I think, these two girls that are in school. One of them doesn't feel like, you know, they don't feel like a girl, so to say. Or I might be getting the other way confused. I read these initially when I gave them to prom, so it's a bit hazy. But yeah, the girl makes friends with this one girl, and yeah, they wind up fighting, and it's not great. And yeah, you would think they'd be resolved and they'd be friends again, but no, it's a one shot, and like, it's just bitter. It's a bitter story. And one thing I learned from Oshimi at the meetup was that when he writes a story and like gets into a series, it's based on what he's feeling at the time. So I'm interested in what he was thinking at the time of making Waltz, honestly. So yeah, but there's potential in this one. I will say there were times where I was like, this could be good, but no. And yeah, like I said, it was the second one that I read. I think I might have read Waltz first and then Kusakabe second, but like I read them continuously. They're not good one shots at all. They're flimsy little small comics for a reason. They're not really great. I'm sorry, they're not good at all. And yeah, that's my first impression of the dude, so I didn't think the most of him. So yeah. Welcome back, Alice. Yes, this one is probably my most frustrating read from Oshimi's catalog because there's just so much potential in this story, and there are signs of like, oh, this can be really good, and then his weirdness gets in the way a lot, which very much does annoy me. And yes, this was a frustrating read. I think this is the last one he finished, if I'm correct. It's like this and Blood on the Tracks are like the one. I forgot what he finished first, but these were like the two that he was writing simultaneously, because I think Kusakabe was done in the middle of Blood on the Tracks, but those were just one shots. For some reason, he made Welcome Back, Alice like during the same time as Blood on the Tracks, and they ended quite around the same time, which was very weird. It was very weird, like, time that we were having those two series, because it was, I don't know, it was just odd, because Blood on the Tracks had a lot of traction to it, very long, and then Welcome Back, Alice was like, oh, that's kind of weird, but whatever. And yeah, this is just, it's a head scratcher, because there's so many things. It's supposed to be like a gender story, sort of, but they don't outright say that the character is transgender. Also, Alice doesn't exist. It's just a name he thought of and was like, yeah, just said Alice. He was like, I don't even know who Alice is. I'm searching for Alice, I guess, at this point. But yeah, the character that has the change isn't referred to as transgender. They say themselves. They're just them at this point. And honestly, I could dig that. I dig the concept. The message was really good. It was right there, and I really did enjoy it. But there were so many things that were just like, Oshimi loves the R word a lot in his stories, and yeah, the way this is handled here, the main character is tortured by his crush a lot, and he doesn't leave until the very end when like he's in the hospital. There was a lot of potential with this, like I keep saying, but like I said, his weirdness just got in the way, and it's the most frustrating. Easily the one I can point to the most is when he has the initial fight with his girlfriend and he leaves and was like, no, I need to go back to my childhood friend, who is, you know, the changed character in the story, and they find each other in the middle of the street, just raining, and it's very, very sweet somewhat. And it's just like, oh, even though this dude kind of just abused you a bit, and yeah, but like I saw the potential, like, oh, like this is actually pretty sweet. Takes him to their house and is like, yeah, you know, just shower up, freshen up, you look like a mess. It's all like, it was very sweet. And then it ended with them getting in the shower. Yeah, just the shock value. There's a lot of shock in this, and it's not really done well in this series. I know he loves to shock the reader a lot, and yeah, this was the one where like you kind of didn't need that. Like you should have just gone more safer with this one and just been like, hey, like they're bonding, and then eventually, like, yeah, the last volume is not like great. And yeah, there are a lot of points where like this dude can just say, nah, I'm done with this, with the girl, with, you know, the way he feels about himself. There are a bunch of times where they can just jab at her right there and just hit you in the head with that point, and the message is very, very good. But again, his weirdness, it just gets all over the place, and it sucks. And I'm sorry, but yeah, no, it was one of his more later series, and yeah, I didn't like it. You can read it if you want. It's a short one. I think it's like 7 volumes, if I'm correct. I rated it a 4 out of 10. Yeah, these are out of 10. And yeah, it's not great, but yeah. A lot of people are gonna get mad at me for this one. Flowers of Evil is overrated. I'm sorry, it is. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people love, you know, Nakamura and the whole dynamic of her being like a power dom, and it's very weird. I believe this is the first actual series I read from him, and yeah, it's his most, you know, well known. If you know Oshimi, you've known the Flowers of Evil. It's based on a poem Baudelaire, and yes, that's pretty much all you get with it. There are, you know, tones of the actual poem itself real throughout the story, and it's pretty cool to see in that aspect. But besides that, yeah, not good. Not good. Very overrated. This is the first case that I've seen R in a series, I believe. And yeah, it's not handled well. It just happens. And this dude is ridiculed and made fun of in public, even though there's only like 2 people that can see. And yes, there's a lot that it's triggering everywhere. That's what Oshimi is. And I kind of got numb with it during this one. Like after this one, I think everything else I've read afterwards, whenever there was a trigger, I'm like, it's just how he does it at this point. And yeah, the whole, I like the whole thing where they went and snuck into the classroom and just painted everywhere. Like that was cool. He was relieving himself of all of the sins that he had thought of at that time, and it was cool. I love the message, and they got caught, sort of, not really. It was kind of BS in my opinion, but yeah, very, very, very weird, but it's Oshimi, so I guess. But still, I didn't like it. We got the famous time skip that he loves to do. This is done like towards the second half. Honestly, a theme that you'll see a lot in this video is that I like the second halves a lot more than the first halves of most of his series. And yeah, this was the first instance. Like I said, I read a series of him, and I was very eerie because there was like a thing he does a lot is that he has ways to just like give the character closure in the most simple way possible, but he's determined to give them closure in the most extreme way possible. You'll see that in most of his series, and this is the one where it's like, oh, it's very weird because like you met this girl who looks exactly like the main girl that you were, you know, crushing on. That was weird. And yeah, you're only liking them because they kind of look like them. It doesn't flat out say it, but like it's pretty obvious. And yeah, and then at the end they kind of give him closure in that, which was weird. I don't know, it's very unclear. But yeah, I will say that even though it's a 5.5 for me, there was one volume that was just really good, and it was like the most normal volume. I think it's like volume 9, I believe. It's just the penultimate volume. Pretty good. I love it a lot. Maybe second to penultimate, but volume 9 is the one where it's like, oh, this is actually pretty good. It's a very nice story. It frustrates me because isms are all over his stories, but the moment where he's like taking a stride of normalcy, it's actually pretty decent. And this is like the one where it's like, oh, there are very big strides where it's normal, but when it gets crazy, and like I guess a lot of people like the shock value of that, which could be cool most of the time, or some of the time. For me, it was very hit or miss, which, you know, it wasn't great for me. But yeah, and yeah, I think this is the only one that has an anime to it, if I'm correct. I'll correct myself here if I'm wrong, but yeah, it's okay. It's very average. I'm sorry, a lot of people are gonna hate me for this, but I don't like Flowers of Evil. But I do like some of these other series. Oh, so many people are gonna hate me for putting this over Flowers of Evil. Yes, the penis one-shot I actually thought was okay. It's actually just alright. It's very early in his career. I think it's the 3rd work he ever did. And yeah, it's alright. It's kind of harmless. There is, you know, implications, very sexual implications. There is a part where like I rolled my eyes, where the character is, you know, if you don't know about Avant Yumeko, it is essentially a girl who just wants to see a penis for some reason. Doesn't explain why, doesn't know why, just wants to see a penis. And yeah, finds this one guy, art club, let me draw you, I want to draw your penis, and that's pretty much it. Basically, the guy goes through a lot of just like being naked and being ridiculed, even though it's just her, you know, drawing and seeing him like that. It's just like, he just feels very off, you know. He winds up doing weird shit about it too. But yeah, eventually he's like, I had enough, I want to draw you, like let me draw you naked, because like I think it's been like a month straight of just her drawing him naked, and he's like, no, screw it, like I'm an artist too, I want to draw you. And she gets naked because he's like, if you don't, I'm stopping this, I'm done, I'm not gonna, you know, strip for you, and you can't draw me anymore. So she reluctantly is like, hey, screw it, I still want to draw you like this, so let me do it. And yeah, draws, and immediately she starts crying and chickens out, and he's like, nah, I'm good, like I drew enough, it's fine. And yeah, and then he goes and has pleasure with the drawing he made. That's not great. But I will say though, like, it's kind of the most, like, least harmless of, like, the most shocking of his stories. It's a one shot after all. And yeah, at the end they have sex because she thinks that's what's, you know, missing. And like after all that, she relieves herself and she actually becomes an artist. So cool, very harmless, can get out of the way. I read this initially. I wasn't gonna read this, but as you can see with the Oshimi clip that I had, he was very much like, hey, I really do like Yumeko. I think I was the only one who actually like got that, even though I was signing it for prom. I was the only person to bring the Yumeko. He just saw a bunch of Flowers of Evil, Blood on the Tracks, Happiness, and so they were just shocked that I had it, and they were like, please promote Avant-Garde Yumeko. We really like it. It's one of my early works, so it's like very much me being a child about it and being haha penis. But yeah, he was like, I'm glad that you brought it, and I was like, cool, I guess I have to read this now. So yeah, read it. It's harmless. It's okay. Like I said, I grew numb after Flowers of Evil to all the weird stuff that he puts in his stories, so this wasn't as like shocking or graphic to me, and it was and you can kind of tell it's one of his early works because it's not drawn that well, but honestly there's like a charm to it, which honestly not bad at all, won't complain. But yeah, Avant-Garde Yumeko, as he said it himself, go check it out. He knows it's about penis, but it's a little funny thing that he liked at the time, and he's happy that he got to get it printed over here in the States. So yeah, Avant-Garde Yumeko, it's over Flowers of Evil, which a lot of people are gonna hate, but whatever. Shino Can't Say Her Name is easily the best one shot he's ever done, by far. And I say that only because it's just very normal, it's very relatable, which it's kind of hard to be truly relatable with the series. There are aspects in his stories that like, oh, I can relate to that, but there's not really one where it's like, oh, I can relate to all of this. There are just, you know, things you can pick out from each series and be like, oh, I relate to this, you know, I relate to like wanting to know more about the human body with Avant-Garde Yumeko. I, you know, I'm curious about certain aspects of life with, you know, series I'm about to talk about later, supernatural stuff. There are things you can pick out from his stories. This is the one though where it's like straight up you can relate to this. Very easy, very simple plot. Shino can't say her name, she can't talk, she is very bad at communicating, she struggles all the time, and someone who, you know, at first when I was a kid had trouble speaking up when I was just, you know, being talked to at a very young age. I relate to this. I liked it a lot. The one thing I don't like is the ending. The ending is essentially like there's a chance for her to just, you know, redeem herself and actually like, you know, step up and actually talk for once. She doesn't. But it's okay. It's normal. It happens sometimes. People just, you know, can't speak up. It's very much in their nature to just be like, their body shuts down, and it's, you know, it's a struggle for them. So I really like this one a lot. It's very normal. It's a nice release too. I still have the one shot, and it's, you know, it's a very simple short story, and I like it. Yes, like I said, spoilers ahead, she has a child and the child speaks up for her. That's very adoring. I loved it so much. It was just a nice breath of fresh air, and I think this was like the fourth thing I read. So I read the first two one shots, and then I think I might have read this next, if I'm correct, because I read Alice earlier this year, a couple months ago, and I might have read this before or after Flowers of Evil, maybe before. I think before, because Flowers of Evil was like the big series that I read. I think I just read this one shot. Easily my favorite one shot, probably top 5 one shots ever for me that I've actually read. And yeah, it's very harmless but relatable. So yeah, Shino Can't Say Her Name. If I want to recommend a series or of his that is very short and you can get down in one read, this is easily the one. I think I rated it a 7 if I remember correctly. And yeah, very nice, very simple, and I like it when he's simple. Like, it's very easy. And then you have Blood on the Tracks. Yeah, shockingly, this is this high. This is second on the list. And yeah, if you saw the list of what I didn't read, you can kind of guess what number 1 is. And, you know, the way I've been talking, you can kind of see why it might be number 1. But yeah, Blood on the Tracks, originally this would have been a lot lower, but then the second part happens. Blood on the Tracks was actually the first series that I read from him, from what I remember, because I was actually collecting them in print. But I finished it last because, you know, it recently finished in September. We got the last book of it, and that's when I read it. I actually read it in Kodansha House. I went back a second time and finished the story there because they had all the volumes. It was awesome. Great. Nice experience to finish that series there. Nice little core memory for me. But yeah, at first I hated it. Volume 2 was horrible because there's an incest scene. It's one panel, one page, or like a spread. Very, very much I'm not into that. I don't like it, so it immediately turned me off. So it's crazy to see that this was, you know, number 2, because it slowly gains itself back up with the suspense. First off, if you want to read this series, get all the books on discount or read it online, because yeah, Oshimi likes to do fast reads. Like, you can get through this book like pretty much within the span of like 2 hours if you really wanted to, the entire series. That's how short these volumes are. They're mainly just to look at pictures, and the story tells itself within those pictures and panels, and I really did like that. But yeah, after the incest scene, I was like, this is horrible. I don't like it. I still wound up collecting it, and it slowly got me back together onto the path of like, this is actually all right. This dude's just, you know, screwed up. It's about a very messed up mother who pushes her nephew down a cliff, and her son is the only one to, you know, witness, and she's like, you're not telling anybody about this, you know, this is staying with us. And she's very overprotective of him. And yeah, this dude gets manipulated, and it's very horrible to see, because you get to see this guy just, you know, be a dick to his family, which he's totally in the wrong because his mom is making him do this. And it's very much just spiraling. Everything is spiraling. He winds up getting a girlfriend, sort of, and the mom was like, no, like, I'm the only woman in your life, that there will only be me. And it's crazy how that actually turns out. And yeah, slowly getting back to, you know, okay territory for me. And then volume 12 happened. I know I've spoiled like essentially the first, you know, quarter of it, but, you know, this is a deep spoiler if you haven't read this series. This is the rating for it. In the next section, I'm explaining why this rating is what it is. And yeah, it's very much, but yeah, you're gonna find out why. Volume 12 happens, and yeah, it ends with, if you read the books, the little preview for the next volume, it gives you a little small, like, 2-sentence line about the next volume. Volume 12 tells you, hey, this is just the end of the prequel. The main story is about to begin. Volume 12, 1 through 12, is the prologue of this story. I instantly sold my set immediately. Did not care. I was like, this is bullshit, because what I'm thinking is, oh, the prologue is 12 volumes. The main story's got to be like at least like, you know, a third more of that, or even double that, you know? So I immediately was like, it's not worth it. They're like $13 a volume. For a volume you can get finished in like 10 minutes. So it's not great for an investment, and as you can see, shelf space is very important at this point. So yeah, I had enough and was like, done with it, I'm good. I dropped it initially. I dropped it, and then I heard that he was also doing Welcome Back Alice. I'm like, he's doing 2 series in a row simultaneously. One's just finished the prologue, he's starting the other one. This makes no sense. So I kind of just dropped, and like, that was my initial just downfall with Oshimi. I was just like, nah, I'm kind of good on this dude. Like, I don't have to read any of his other things. I'm solid. I'm solid. And then the actual story happens, and I decide, hey, I need to pick this up because everyone's raving about it. I personally didn't like it that, you know, we had that one scene in volume 2. It slowly creeps up. You see this kid become deranged because of his mother, and then it just, this is the beginning of the main story is about to start. Hated that stuff, but everybody, 13 came out, 14 came out, so on and so on. Praise after praise after praise. I'm like, all right, what happens in this initial story to make, you know, a lot of people just say like, this is one of his best series? And so I read it. I'm very upset that I kind of sold my set. Won't lie. The main story is easily, when it comes to him doing time skips and doing another story, because he did that with Flowers of Evil, Blood on the Tracks now. He's done that with other series. Like I said, Shino Can't Say Her Name, the last like couple pages is like a time skip essentially. He's done that so many times. This easily is the best post, you know, event time skip in one of his series. There's a lot here that you can unpack. Seichi is suicidal. He just wants to end it all. He's just, you know, coming to terms with everything. The only reason why he wasn't offed already was because his dad was still there, and, you know, he knew his dad was struggling, and so he's like, all right, I'm here for my dad, And I know like a lot of crap has happened, but I'm here for this dude. His dad dies. As soon as he dies, doesn't cry about it, still emotionless. He says, all right, he's over, he's done with, I'm gonna kill myself. He has little visions of him as a child that is like, hey, the happiness in you, the little innocent side of you died a long time ago. So I'm waiting for you to just come with me to, you know, the afterlife. And like you get that vision of him as a kid, like, hey, hurry up, you're taking too long. And yeah, honestly, like I think volumes, the like 13 and 14, one of the two, or maybe both of them, I gave them 5 stars, which is crazy because, you know, if you see I'm on Goodreads. Yeah, if you see my ratings for that series, it's a lot of 2s, 1s and stuff. But the second part is just so good, and there are traces of him just like heading back to insanity. And like I said, Oshimi wants closure in his series in the most extreme way possible. Easily, this dude grows up, never sees his mom ever again after, you know, the last time that she goes to jail. Easily could have just been like, all right, my father's at peace, I'm gonna be at peace. I know I messed up a lot. He could have just went to apologize to his aunt, everything, and just been off. Cool. Perfect story. Could have ended, I think, like in volume 14. I forgot. It's this one, the one that I gave 5 stars. Could have ended there easily. But no. He's like, you know, the dad is like, here's your mom's phone number. In case you ever want to, she can be contacted. Initially, he's like, nah, I'm good. Like, this is pointless that you gave me this. I'm not going to do that. Then eventually he does, because he has to. He's kind of forced to. And so we find out what happens to the mom, how she is, and it explains her side of the story. It's very much meh at this point, because, you know, the stuff is done already. You know, pushed, she went to jail, all stuff's done already. And they're still like, she's an asshole. But she fully admits, like, hey, it was the way I was raised that made me this way. I didn't want to be a part of this. And, you know, initially you're like, you didn't have to be. You could have just said no at any time. But it was the fact that she was just so dead inside that she was just like, I went along with everything even though I hated it. And yeah. And then you were that symbol that like was just like, yeah, I have let go and gave up on everything. She wanted to be an actress. As someone who wanted to be an actor / voice actor who still aspires to be like that, I know the struggles of doing that, you know, line of work. It's a very hard, risky, competitive, you know, line of business. And yeah, I understand, and that's the Japanese side of it with this story, the way that she handles it, and can be completely different from the way we do it here in the US. But yeah, I understand that. And by the way it's handled here, it's, you know, very flashback heavy to the second half, but I understand because, you know, her perspective. And she tells herself like, hey, if she tells her son like, hey, this is the reason why, this is how I met your dad and everything. And yeah, fate, even though it's been disgusting, has led me to this point. And like, I apologize for what happened. And Seichi kind of copes with it, and he's like, all right, cool. And then eventually she dies, and then he lives an old life of just, you know, very mellowed life. And it was an all right ending. It was okay. And I'm happy with this one. I'm happy that I read the second part, because this shows you that mangaka can do really good things with their stories. Because like this, Oku that made Gantz, I hated Gantz originally, and then it built up to like me liking the actual series. Haven't finished it yet, but like manga have a great sense of just world building and character building, and this is easily the best example of that, with him using his own personal stuff, because there's a lot of him in this story. He did a fantastic job, and honestly, I'm glad that I read this one. And yeah, that's why it's my second favorite. And yes, the last series, if you don't know what it is, it's Happiness. This is just him writing a regular story. Not much is Oshimi in this, which is weird that this is my favorite, because haha. But yeah, it's a very regular story. Vampires, you know, infecting humans. There's one character, our main character, becomes a vampire, and the struggles of having to live that life. You know, it shows you the effects, having to leave family, friends, you know, getting people involved in the wrong kind of things, a cult. It gets crazy. Like the time skip happens like in the middle of the story, which is crazy. I hated it originally, because why would you do it in the middle of the story? But yes, it's a short series. I wish this was longer. This was the one series from him where I was like, you could have done a lot more here. This is Welcome Back Alice, but Welcome Back Alice was losing the plot, because there was a good plot there. This one, solid plot overall, and yeah, very good. I would love Oshimi to do more regular series. He told, like I said earlier, he was in a good state you know, where he is right now. So I'm hoping the next series he does, I know he does like Chichan, I think is the name of the series, but that's an adaptation of a work already. Like his first new series that's all like his own original work next time, I want that to be just a strictly story based story. And I don't want him to use his, like, you know, his experiences, which, you know, a lot of people love that about him, but this is the one case where he doesn't really use them. And honestly, it's just really good. It's really good. It's a nice thrilling story with action, drama, and yes, I said action. There are some fight scenes or like some fighting that happens. It's pretty cool, and I think this is one of his earlier series. And yeah, it's just really well done, honestly. Like, it's a really basic, you know, story that's very linear, but I like it. Like I said, there's a bunch of other things that, you know, he's not fully him in the story, but there's more aspects of him in his writing. You know, the whole time skip stuff happening, you know, seeing extreme closure, because there could have been a point where like the girl that we wind up having to be the main character can just have closure immediately. Doesn't. It's how he writes. It's his isms. And yeah, this was his isms done in the best way possible at this point. This and Blood on the Tracks are honestly like the best examples of him shining in the way he writes. And yeah, I like it a lot. And a lot of people don't really have great feelings towards happiness, but I do. I actually really like this one, which is very weird to say, because a lot of people are very mixed on this series. It's either like it's pretty good or like I didn't like it, it's not really for me. And this one, honestly, is just, it's solid. It's just a solid story. No, you know, you can turn off your brain with this one, which is pretty cool. But there are some things you can read between the lines, and yeah, there's a lot of very interesting stuff with this one, and not a lot of shine is given to this one, but I dig this one, so I don't mind it at all. And that is the wonderful world of Shuzo Oshimi. Thank you guys for watching this video so much. I very much do appreciate. I know I had the whole wardrobe change, you know, shot this in 2 days, and yeah, thank you so much for watching this video talking about a creator that honestly, at first I didn't like at all. I was not into his stuff, and I can fully admit that, even though I'm doing a video on him right now. But slowly over time, I have enjoyed his works. He's done really good stuff, and you know, even meeting him, just, you know, sitting down for that Q&A, learning more about his mind and how like he thinks about stuff, pretty cool. He's a cool guy. Thank you, Oshimi-san, for making that small video for me. Thank you to the creators that helped me making this whole skit. And yeah, overall, I say I do like Shuzo Oshimi, and it's very hard to say that, because I think, like, you asked me this like 6 months ago, I'd tell you like he's one of my most overrated, you know, manga. But honestly, at this point, I do like his stuff, honestly, and I'm looking forward to whatever I read next, whether it be Inside Mari, the Sweet Poolside, even though I don't think I'll read that, Devil Ecstasy, or, you know, new stuff that'll be published, because I'm pretty sure Chichan will eventually get over here, even though it's an adaptation of something else. Shuzo Oshimi is a big creator at this point, and a lot of people recognize that, and I'm pretty sure more of his work is going to come over. I wouldn't be shocked if, like, give it like 5 years from now, within the next 5 years, everything he's published is going to be brought over to the States, and, you know, I wouldn't mind. But at this point, there are certain Oshimi series that I need to read, and I'm looking forward to it. I know I'm going to have a lot of qualms with the way he writes, or, you know, the shock factor and stuff like that, but I know that's how he is, and he can do it to the best of his ability, because I've seen it in a lot of tracks. I've seen it. Shino Can't Say Her Name, Happiness. They're very much good points where he can actually make his isms work for him. At the beginning it didn't work for me, but I'm glad it works for me now. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.